Alright everybody, what's happening y'all? I'm Hunter Van Houten from Van Houten Guitars and got something really cool for you guys today. We are going to be doing a pedal board build out for a friend of mine. Real quick before we jump in, please do me a favor, click the like button, give me a thumbs up, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you aren't subscribed. That really helps me out. So anyways, now that we've gotten that over with, let's jump in and see what we got. It's a Pedaltrain. As you can see, we have got a lot of pedals on here. What I want to do is I'm going to start off, he's kind of got these in the order he likes, but we know we want to include a volume pedal as well on here. I'm going to kind of take note of what this is, and then we're going to start by peeling off all of this sticky, gunky Velcro, and we're going to go with our grippy grip locks from Scotch. It's the good stuff. On top of that, he wants a switch installed with a light and all this good stuff. I got some solderless cables. I got some more cables, not solderless. Got some bracket. Cool little 3M underside sticky dealy zip ties. We've also got two ISO blocks that we need to install. We've got an MXR and a Voodoo power supply. So we got a lot of work ahead of us. This is gonna be cool though. This should be fun. It's kind of a learning experience for us all, I guess. Now, when you're building out a pedal board, it's all up to the individual player, how they want to set up their board, what layout's right for them. We're always going to put certain pedals before others, so we're going to go over that while we're doing it though. Yeah, so let's jump in. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to start taking off all these pedals. We're going to remove them all one by one. First, I'm going to take a picture so that I know which order everything is in and kind of how like everything's set up. And then we're going to start removing this Velcro, and we're going to replace it with our heavy-duty grippy grip lock Velcro. So let's do it. Okay, now that we got all the pedals off, we can really get this party started. Let's pull this Velcro up. Alright, so now we've gotten all the Velcro removed. Highly recommend using some like pliers. Needle nose pliers are great just to get it started, and then you can pull the rest off with your hands. It also saves your fingers because that stuff sticks and it tears up your hands. Just gotta watch out you don't cut your hands. Once we've taken it off, you'll see there is sticky goo left over, and there's something nifty that you can use for this stuff. Let me show you. This stuff is amazing. It's called Prep All. It's a great just remover. It removes everything. It's awesome. It's for automotive use, and they use it to like clean off bumpers or things before painting. It's kind of like a mineral spirits. It just helps strip all the goo off. So we're gonna hit it with some of that, clean it off, and start mapping everything out for the install. Yeah. Classic example of why I don't like to use this Velcro. As you can see, this Velcro was put on here like this originally, and over time it starts to slip. And look how easy that comes off. It just peels right off. So of course, if there's pressure, it's down, gravity, you're gonna see it start to slip over time. You're gonna open your pedal board case one day and your pedal's not gonna be attached anymore. So that's another reason I don't like to use this stuff, and why we're going to switch to heavier Velcro. So this stuff is amazing. This is the 3M locking Velcro. This is like heavy duty stuff, and the cool thing about this is that you know how you've got the soft side and then you've got the prickly side, and it's supposed to hook and loop into each other. You don't have that on this, which I love. You can literally hook it to itself. It makes it just much easier. You use less. Also, it's cool because this is a lot higher and a lot thicker, so your pedals are a bit more elevated, and it just leaves a way cleaner look. So yeah, get yourself some dual lock. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting a piece for the back of the pedal, and then I'm cutting an equal sized piece for the actual pedal board. So that way I'm going to get all my pieces together for each pedal. Once you stick it down, it is really hard to move this stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the pedal board out and I'm gonna actually start just kind of placing things out, roughly getting a feel for things. My buddy wants this added to his pedal board. It's great, fantastic. This is where it gets a little funky monkey. His idea is he wants to be able to turn his pedal board on and off with this switch. We get a nice on-off switch. We got this jewel light, so that needs to be situated to where he can see it, drilled into the pedal board and attached that way. We also need to be able to attach this onto the pedal board, and I was thinking maybe on top, because on the side we could risk it being bumped in the case and or damaged, and usually we have the pedals to help protect it, especially if it's in a soft case. We've got this massive daddy of a plug, but maybe we can put it to the side. Alright, so we have a little bit of an issue with this board and this piece that we have. We've got this connector right here. I'm gonna have to make a mount for it. The best way that I know how to do that is I'm gonna take a piece of sheet metal and I'm gonna cut a square in here so that we can mount this, side mount this piece in here like this. So I went ahead and took my metal sheet that I cut out, just this little metal square, and I drew on the back with a Sharpie. I just basically came in and put it down here and then outlined it, and knew that I didn't want to go farther than this outside lip, you know, for when I'm cutting out this center area, because I want it to sit flush, and I've got a lip around the outside right here. So let's cut this out. Alright, so next what we want to do is we want to put this plate onto this guy right here, not like that, like this. So I want to actually drill some holes into the pedal board, just 3 of them, and then we're going to mount this piece into this so that way it can be under the pedal board. Alright, so next what we're going to do is we're going to put our mounts on for our power supplies. So we've got one universal mount for Pedaltrain, then we've also got a mount for our Voodoo Lab power supply as well. So we're going to get both of those mounted on before we really go about doing too much of the underside wiring. What I want to do though first is I'm going to wire all of the board up with patch cables, and then we're going to stick the pedals down, because one of the problems when working with Velcro, especially dual lock, is that a lot of people will stick things together and end up sticking the pedals down first and then try to put the patch cables into place. And the problem with that there is you may end up getting one too close and you're not able to get this patch cable in, and it might not have enough room in between here. So that can be a problem, because then you're going to have to pry the pedal off. So what we're going to do before we stick these pedals down is get the patch cables wired up, and then we're going to stick them down. Then we're going to add the power supplies and then wire up the power afterwards. So let's do it. Yeah. So for this we've got pedal board cable kit, and then we've also got some hard patch cables as well. These are the solderless patch cables I'm gonna have to put together. I know that I'm gonna start with my volume pedal. Also, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run, this specific pedal has a tuner out on it, so you don't have to actually put your tuner in the signal chain, which is really nice. So we're gonna come in through here and then out as well. So this is gonna be the first link in our pedal board. So it also enables you to tune on the fly, and or you don't have to mute your entire chain. You can actually just pull down on the volume pedal and still be able to do that without putting the tuner in your chain. This is always going to stay on, actually. This solderless cable allows us to make cables at any length. Also too, it's really nice because the ends of our patch cables are really small. We don't get a lot coming out, which is awesome. So we want to come from the tuner out to the tuner in on this Polytune TC electronic pedal. So I'm just gonna roughly measure it out. So I'm gonna plug in the tuner. I've got that in there, not hard though. I wanna leave myself a little bit of slack because actually I think I might go underneath here. I'm going to, because I don't want this to be in the way of our actual power supplies, but I wanna give myself enough slack. You're gonna need wire clippers, and I'm just gonna clip this just like that. How this works is I want to make sure that everything is visible. The inside of it being there's a centerpiece and then there's the surrounding, I guess it's ground wire, I would assume. So the way to do this is I'm going to take the screwdriver provided and I'm going to take the screw all the way out, and the cap is going to slide off and turn. And it's a good idea to have like some sort of little tray or something like this so you can put these small pieces in. This is a magnetic tray, which is great for this stuff. And then I'm gonna put the cable in here, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna come flush inside of this, and I'm gonna turn it, and then I'm gonna come down and bend it, just like that. Then I'm gonna replace the cap, and then also replace the screw. And that's just gonna hold that into place. We want that to be pretty tight. So now we have a patch cable end, and we're gonna just repeat that for the other as well. And there's our first patch cable. So I'm gonna come the tuner out, and I'm gonna run it down underneath this rack, like so. That way we don't get in the way of our pedal right here, and then it's gonna go in here. We can lock these into place once we actually put the grip lock down, but that way I don't get in the way of the EQ pedal. Also, one more hint. You see how the wire is basically, it's coiled in one way? I try to keep the tip of this in the same direction as the coil. So when you twist it in, make sure it's got that same direction. It just makes it easier to bend and manipulate if you're in that same direction. Because if I were to go against this, it's just not gonna sit as nicely. All right, so we've run into a little bit of a situation. We don't have enough length of cable left with these smaller patch cables to make the patches that we need across the pedal board. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these smaller patch cables apart, or some of them, and since we have some actual patch cable left, I'm gonna rewire these other patch cables. So I'm gonna wire in this wiring to fit instead, so we have more length out of our patch cables. All right. So, and now we've got all of our patch cables run. Here's what we got so far. Kind of looks like a mess because everything's hasn't been Velcroed down or secured. What we've got now is these two ISO Brick power supplies, which I'm gonna mount underneath. We have an MXR ISO Brick and a Voodoo Lab power supply. We have 4 9 volts here, and then we've got, a 12 volt and an 18 volt, which only certain pedals are really gonna use. We've got a 6 to 15 volt variable range, so I can set this here to 9 volts, and then we have 2 18 volts as well. Also too, we've gotta look at the milliamps. So we've got 300, we've got 100, 450, so your 9 volt and your 12 volt outs share 400, so as long as you don't exceed the 400, you'll be getting the right amount of power to your pedals. So that's something to definitely take into consideration. Alright, so now that I've got the Voodoo Lab pieces mounted to the actual power supply, I'm going to place this where I want it. Now it's okay to have this running through because I'm going to there's going to be some space in here, so that's fine. Also, I'm going to leave some space just over here on the side just in case. I went ahead already and marked my holes with a pencil. So these are the screws that are provided. So I'm going to use an 1/8" drill bit on this. Alright, so my camera actually just died while I was in the middle of doing some things, but I'm going to walk you through what I just did. I plugged the IEC cable in the front of this, and I'm going to recommend that you get a right angle cable so that it's clean up underneath. We also went ahead and I mounted the MXR upside down so we could access the power from the front, and there's still plenty of clearance and enough room to get to everything here. Then we took our West Coast pedalboard situation here, and I just reinforced the end of this with some electrical tape just to make it have a nicer, tighter hold right here. So we've got 3 inputs here, but we're going to need to attach that underneath like this in order to give us enough clearance on top. Stick around, stay tuned! Alright, so I just went through and wired everything up through the power supply. So I hooked up all of the DC cables and ran those to all the pedals, that they corresponded to. So now we're going to clean all this up. And the way we want to do that is I've got these cool little zip tie pieces, little 3M adhesive, and they go on the back, and then you can zip tie all the cables, and you basically can just stick these to the board like this and then zip tie the cables in. They're really, really convenient and super awesome, and keeps everything really, really clean. I went ahead and zip tied all of these pieces down, all of the DC cables. When I was wiring everything in though, I left it to where the DC cables, I could still pull them out and then slide them through, and I didn't tie them down, too much. So that's just one word of advice, is don't get them too tight until you're 100% sure everything's in, or otherwise have backup zip ties. Those are always a good thing. So yeah, I think we're pretty much almost there. Unfortunately, I didn't have short cables. Otherwise, I would have just gone straight in like that and kept it really clean, but I had to loop them through several different times just to pick up the slack. So just because the DC cables were too long. So we've wired everything up. We've got it all situated. Everything's nice and clean underneath here. We're ready to go. The moment of truth. Will it work? It definitely works. I already tested it. But have to do it for the camera. Man, that feels good. That is solid. Let's plug this bad boy up and see what we got. Moment of truth. Woohoo!